What's up guys, it's Michael here. In this video we're going to talk about investment strategies and also different types of investments. How can you tell the difference between an investment and a liability? So let's get right into it. Before I get into the video, please click the like button down below and the subscribe button so YouTube will notify you when I upload a new video. So the most important thing a lot of people ask in this day and age is, what's the difference between the two? So first, to understand, an asset is anything that generates revenue when you own it. So this can basically be almost anything, but you keep that in mind. An asset also has risk, meaning it can go up, and at the same time, whatever comes up can always go down. A liability is anything that basically most of the times you purchase will not generate you any revenue. So mainly you can look at that as your daily driver for your car. Your house can be a liability or an asset. Basically, most of everything can actually fit into one of the two categories. It depends how you spin it off. So we're gonna look at a few examples today in this video, comparing the two. So first, let's break down the most simplest. So a lot of people consider cars and vehicles are split between liability and asset. So let's compare one that a lot of people really like, Tesla itself. Do you consider it as an asset or a liability? In my personal opinion, it can fit to both. So first you look at how is it an asset. An asset, first, saves you money. Number two, depending how you use it, you can write it off as a business expense. Maybe this Tesla itself gets you from point A to point B, or you have to use it to provide value to your client, to whatever business and service you have. It makes it easier for you, the potential to generate new clients. Compare, let's say you're driving a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic. It lowers the chances. So basically, dress for success. A lot of people said, you don't have to dress, you don't have to own nice things, but in certain businesses, for example, like real estate or meeting other people, basically flexing your wealth, or in a way showing that your professionalism, that basically you're at that level, you have reached that level, you give other people confidence to do business with you. So that is the way between a Tesla and other vehicles. So you look at that as the liability side. So what happens, and I'll say this majority for most people, that when they own a daily driver and this Tesla itself, most of the time I can say a good chunk, at least 95% of people driving daily driver cars are a liability. So let's look at how can Tesla be a liability instead of an asset. So how does it become a liability compared to being an asset? Number one, you don't use it to write off for expenses. So basically, the mileage you drive, you can't write it off, or basically you don't write off, you don't do it at all. That's a basic, you're taking a fat L already, a loss. Number two, the car itself is very expensive. If you are not into the business that requires you to show proof or show your worth or dress for success, and you're owning that car just because you want to own it, then that's basically another loss. And number three, if you don't own a business and you just work writing mainly a W-2 for your income, then you're taking another loss, because it make it really difficult to justify the reason all the money you spend, for example, charging up your car, the mileage, the maintenance, you can't write it off. So basically, the liability side on a Tesla itself is a big loss compared to the asset side. And you said, what happens if you resell the value? Look at the value of the car right now, Tesla. You look at the value right now. So how does it become an asset versus a liability? How is it generating revenue if you're planning to sell the vehicle itself? So the vehicle itself, it's not scarce. It's not a scarcity product. Yeah, you can say it is. Like, you order one, you wait a couple months to get it, but at the same time, the value is holding like break even, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But overall, in general, once enough people get the car, it's gonna drop in value because there's gonna be a lot more down on the street. So if you're looking to resell the car to make a profit, it's very unlikely. So it's pushing closer to the liability side. And next of all, what other value does it have? Electric car, there's a lot of electric cars, big deal. So then you compare this to, let's say, a more scarce product in the same category of vehicles. So let's look at a Lexus LFA, a Porsche Carrera GT. You look at the Ferrari LaFerrari. Those worth multi-millions of dollars. And you look at other basic or classic cars, same thing. Basically, those cars, what they generate, value. What value do they generate? It's scarce. It appeals to their eyes. Let's admit it. It costs a lot, and besides costing a lot of people want it, but there's not enough people could get their hands on it. It requires a step-by-step process, and there's only a specific number made, and that generates value. So the value itself, it's not making like a few $100 or a few $1,000. This can make a few $100,000s. That is why those type of vehicles are classified as assets instead of liability. Yeah, liability, the car will break down. You spend like a couple $1,000s, maybe tens of thousands of dollars to fix the car. So you look at Lexus, LFA, or Ferrari. So when that specific type of car breaks down, you can call that liability. But at the end, it's still an asset because whoever wants to buy the vehicle off you from secondhand market, it's worth way more than the cost to repair. So going down the next down the list is look at housing. So how is housing versus asset and liability? For example, if you're currently living in a home, you have two options. Basically, to purchase another home or to purchase a condo, townhouse, or apartment building. Or you can say you purchase another house and you can turn into like a duplex, triplex, quadplex. So comparing those two buildings, you decide to, let's say in a hypothetical scenario, you buy a house and you rent it out to one family. In theory, yes, this is an asset. You are still making money. You spent money on the home, expecting the value to go up, and based on this market most likely will, but you're renting out to only one family. So your income coming in is basically steady depending on who you rent it out to. But the income itself, it's not as high as you choose the other options because you have more people paying you. So what's the liability compared to like the other two? If you're just owning the house itself and just renting it out. So your liability is basically you're looking at home repairs. You're looking if the tenant decides to sue you for whatever reason they have, whatever reason they make up. So home repairs itself cost a lot of money. And right now you take a gamble that the home value itself will increase, or you can basically hold on until it increases. So the risk you're taking between the two is very high. Do I consider it a liability or an asset? They're technically both. You gotta basically take risk management and look at which one you are willing to sacrifice and willing to take when making that decision. So if you're moving down to, let's say, a townhouse, a condo, or duplex, triplex. So let's look at condo, apartments, and townhouse. Those are the risks are a lot less because it doesn't cost as much as a house. You can also still rent it out, do your own research in whatever area you're trying to do. When you rent it out, you still have the liabilities of repairing the home, but your risk is a lot less. If something goes wrong, you won't lose as much money as compared to buying a home because you're spending a major amount of dollars and there's more things that can go wrong. So basically, the bigger the place, the more things that can go wrong. It's pretty simple. And if you look at an apartment, or let's say a duplex, triplex, or quadplex, that is pushing towards more the asset class instead of the liability. The liability is still there. It's same as owning a single family home. The liability is still there. You still have like weapons, water pipes break, sewage needs to be maintained. Once you have leaks when it rains, with a roof, termite damage. So the liability is still there. It's not going to change within the class, but the change between the rest of them, between townhouse, condo, and a single family residential home, that in this multi-family residential home and apartment, you have the chance to rent out to more than one person. So meaning instead of buying a property just to flip it, you buy the property to rent it out. So you get a steady type of cash flow coming in. And if it's time to sell the property, for example, let's say this current pandemic where the housing prices skyrocketed, maybe that's your time to pull out. But at the same time, that is a bigger chance at assets. This is called risk management. You gotta understand the process of being played. No one's gonna teach you. You have to find that out by yourself. Just do your research online or watch this video by clicking the like button down below and subscribe button. I'll talk more and mention more about these topics. So how does apartment and a multifamily unit housing can be a bigger asset than a liability? Simple. So you look at apartment, you're renting out to a bunch of people to really small, basically 2 rooms, 3 rooms at most, maybe like kitchen within the same room, and you're taking a monthly rent, and you can pack a lot of people within the same building. And if you look this up in like California, we need a lot of multifamily housing units. So that is actually a really big benefit. The only problem is the zoning regulations, but if you get your hands on it and you remodel a place and make it really affordable and you find the right tenants, that's a big bonus. Same for multi-family housing units for homes. You take a basic giant home, based on your zoning regulations, convert it to a bunch of other smaller basic homes within a home, then you rent them all out. there you go. Your asset is way bigger than your liability. Moving on to the next part. So this one is a little bit more difficult. So this one, you are looking at multiple class items. So we're gonna cover clothing, for example. For example, Louis Vuitton versus like your normal traditional clothing from like Banana Republic or whatever store, Goodwill for the heck, in case of it. So you look at these two, asset or a liability. So let's look at the high-end stuff, Louis Vuitton, Gucci. First question, you gotta ask yourself, how is this an asset? If you're wearing this type of clothing to meet clients in real estate, try to convince them become your client, then that's a bonus. But it's a risk you gotta take too. The liability is you buy it and just for the heck of it, you don't do anything with it. You just buy it just to wear it every day. You're not there to basically, hopefully use it to find and fish out people to become your client. Then that's the basic loss. But sadly, mainly that is mainly highly on the liability side because a lot of people buy those type of clothing not for work purposes, not to use them to fish for clients, just to feel good. So basically, I consider that mainly liability, still has its assets. You're buying normal clothing. Normal clothing itself, hate to break it to you, here's the tricky part. It's still a liability. It's not really an asset because you can wear normal clothing and you can try to still fish for clients. Does it have a bigger chance compared to wearing something like Louis Vuitton, name brand, a lot of people recognize? No, you're actually on a disadvantage. What's the liability side is basically you earn nothing from it. Your chance of making money is just as little. But the difference is one costs way more than the other. So your assets on it is actually saving money that you can use to buy something else, use to invest the difference. Because comparing between liability and asset, if one thing is a liability, there's always something else that can be an asset. So moving down the line, the last thing I can think of right now on top of my head to mention is basically when you're living in a home and you want to remodel and versus you leave it as it is. So when you remodel your home, what you're looking at is either one A, you want to live more comfortably, or B, you want to upgrade a property so it'd be worth more value. Or basically the third option is it's unlivable, or you can keep it as it is. So this one, compared to previous one, has a lot of benefits. The assets actually favor more than the liability. Why is that? When you upgrade your home, increase the value depending on areas you upgrade. And you look at, besides increasing the value, you make it more easier because investing as an entrepreneur requires your mental health. Everyone is human too. Even you watching this video, that's why you should click the subscribe button and like button down below. So when you upgrade your home, the assets versus the liability. Liability is basically it doesn't, maybe paint your house a really funny color. Maybe purple, green, white, and black all mixed into one. Maybe a lot of people don't like that. But at the same time, the asset, mainly when you upgrade your home, it's mainly on the asset side because it makes it look newer, makes it look more refreshed. If you decided one day to sell your property or rent it out, when people walk in, it's brand new. It's built up to modern standards. So this case, compared to clothing one, mainly liabilities falls into their category. In this one, when you're upgrading your home from whatever current situation you have right now, if it's an older model home, maybe it's not up to standard, and you do an upgrade, it mainly falls into the assets because it fixes all the things that can prepare the home maybe in the future you want to sell. So that's it I have for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And next time I'll post more videos in the near future. Peace.